Welcome everyone to a Sunday video. Today we're covering how to send emails in Unity, including how to add attachments. We've got Mr. Blue Turtle in the building. He's providing our stylings in a nice lo-fi mix, morning vibes. Check him out. And today we're just going to be going through that tutorial, all right? It is a difficult process. You know, if you search sending emails in Unity, Mr. Blue Turtle's going a little wild. Let me pump down the volume just a little bit for me. Hopefully that's a good volume for you. I'm listening to this through two sets of hats because it's bloody cold out here, right? I've got a hood and a hat, and I'm just pumping in Mr. Blue Turtle, all right? So we're making it work. But basically, you'll find you'll find my video as the first one, you know. Look at this asshole. This was 3 years ago. A lot has changed, let me tell you, in sending emails. Actually, so the way that I explain that is basically using C# SMTP email sending, right? And if you go to the actual documentation now for Microsoft's SMTP, here it is. You'll actually find that in the remarks section, they say, hey, we actually don't recommend you use our code because it doesn't work. Okay, so Microsoft is saying their own stuff doesn't work, which, hey, I'm an employee for Microsoft right now, so I can't legally say anything negative. But it's definitely embarrassing that instead the official docs are recommending you go to this random guy's GitHub account, this guy named Jeffrey Steadfast from Boston, Massachusetts. Apparently, his GitHub repo is the place to go when you need to send emails through C#. The official SMTP just doesn't work on its own. So we're in it's a little bit of an embarrassing place to be, but it's okay. We're rolling with the punches, and I'm going to show you how to integrate the Mailkit into Unity. Now, here's the other thing. When it comes to Unity, you cannot edit the code. So, as you may know, a game engine has two layers. You've got the code, which is normally in C++, and then you've got the script, which is normally in Lua, I would say is the most common scripting language for game dev. In Unity, though, it's not Lua, it's C#. And so, while you can edit that C# scripting layer, Unity is unique in that you cannot edit the code. Actually, you can, but you need to pay over $100,000 per year for their pro license, right? It's a little bit of nonsense. But without that license, you can't edit the code. In order to, you can't edit it, but you can add to the code. And that's what a DLL is. A DLL allows you to add additional C++ libraries that your scripts can call into. And that's essentially what we're going to need to do here today. Now, I should tell you here, let me go back to the cam because I've got to talk some more. I should tell you that Visual Studio by default does have a DLL manager. It's called Nuget, spelled N-U-G-E-T. However, we can't import our DLLs directly into Visual Studio because the way that Unity works is the project overrides the Unity solution. It actually builds the solution from scratch every time you want to do that, right? So because it's going to override any work that we do in Visual Studio, we can't import directly into Visual Studio. Instead, we need to take any DLLs that we want to access from Visual Studio and import them instead directly into the Unity project folders. Specifically, the most common place to put it is Unity assets/packages. So if I jump into a little example here, let's go. Here we are. I've created a little test scene. And in my project folders here, I have an assets folder, and then I've created a packages folder here. And within the packages folder, I've added all of the DLLs we're going to need to work with today. That process, let me tell you, was hell. I started at 10 a.m. and it's about 3 p.m. right now. So it took a really freaking long time to figure that shit out. And I'll talk you through some of the difficulties I overcame with that. But first, let me just show you what I'm working with in the scene here. We've just got a basic button, and that button is calling a very simple method here called ERT. I don't know why it's called ERT. Oh no, here it is. It's called send email request. And all that's doing is it's calling into a static class, which has a single method in it called send email. And that is where all the magic is happening, folks. What we're doing is we are creating a MIME message, further referred to as a MIME message. we are adding a from and a to field. I'm throwing in the subject, and then we're going to create the body. Now, the body is kind of long, so we're using something called a multi-part body, which allows us to add different components. And in particular here, I wanted to demo showing you adding a image and adding a text file, in addition to any string literals you might want to include. And the value of this is, at least in my case, I want to make it so that in my game, you can send a bug report. And that bug report will include the player's log, as well as a screenshot of the game at the time they submitted the bug report. And that's essentially what we're doing here. I'm just showing you how to add a picture and a log. So these both point to places on my desktop. I don't know if those currently exist. No, they don't. Okay, so let me just create that really quick, just so we have something to send over the network. Oh boy, opened up that by accident. Let's jump into Paint really quick. And for, I think I did as a test a little sad face. But you know what? Maybe I'll do a little scared face. This is like somebody screaming. They're like, ah, there's a bug. We need to report it. Okay, so that is going to go into there, and we'll name it untitled.png. Great name. And then we're also going to create a little log, which is going to be like, well, you know what? We're going to go with untitled.text, okay? So let's just switch these paths really quick to untitled. And that is going to be the image and the text that we're going to send. And this is basically just to demo to you that we can actually send this. It's important, though, folks. You got to understand this. You've got to use an email that is not Gmail. Gmail, our friends at Google recently, and this is why I'm making this video, because the old version I made 3 years ago, it is no longer working as of just a few months ago. Gmail decided that you will no longer be able to send emails through their services using third-party clients. And that's essentially what we're trying to do here through the DLL. We're trying to simulate sending an email. And, well, you just can't do that with Gmail anymore. They're not allowing that because they want to crack down on spammers. So you're going to have to use a different sort of email client. I've elected to use Outlook. And if you do choose to use Outlook as well, on the bottom here, when you do choose to do a client connect, you have to select smtp-mail.outlook.com. Okay, so that's how you have to do it for Outlook. If you want to use Yahoo or Hotmail or whatever it is, you've just got to change this section to, work with whatever your SMT provider needs to be. It's probably something very similar to this in format. Also, you need to set up an authentication. So that requires including the username and password of your email inside this authentication call here. I'm not going to be showing that right now just because I don't want you to see my password, but I have typed my password in as a string literal, which is something generally that's a very bad idea. You never want to include your password as a string literal within a client, because if it's in a client executable, then data miners can access that information, right? They could pull it out. And so that's just something you want to be aware of. If you're going to literally have the password lying around in the code, just like this string literal, somebody can read it. For my case, I don't really care because I'm literally just using this email address as like a gateway for me to send my bug reports. But don't do that. It's not a good idea in general because it can be hacked. So you have to be mindful of that, okay? It's dangerous. All right, so that's enough of a preamble. Let's jump into the demo. Jumping into Unity. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm pushing Control-R here to update my scripts. And we're going to run this as soon as it's ready. Unity is never running as fast. Oh boy. I pushed play too many times. It stopped it. I've never liked that. If you press play twice, it just turns it off. All right, and here we go. Here's the button. Let's slap that button. And I got one message in the console which said sent email. So let's pop open my email and see if that's the case. Here we go. We got a new email here. We've got that crazy guy as an attachment. And we've also got our untitled.txt, which in the case of a real life example would be maybe the player's log, or maybe the player's settings, or maybe the player's player profile as a text document, whatever you want. And of course you could include as many text in, well, not as many as you would want. There is actually a character limit. And as I recall, it's actually sort of limited, but you could of course just include a string literal as well. And so that's what I've done here. Message text here. That is directly from this section right here. So you can include string literals as well. Just do mind that there is a character count. limit. I don't remember what it is, but there is a limit. Okay, so that's how it works. The question is, how did we get here, right? I'm going to include this code linked in the description of this video so you could check it out, download it from my website. Hopefully it helps you out. But the tough part is actually getting those DLLs integrated. So let me pause this video for a moment, and we're going to switch over to a project before I've imported them all, just to show you a little bit about what that process is like. All right, party people, I am back, and I wanted to show you, you know, when you download this script and you put it into your game, it's not going to look like this, because there's going to be a lot of red squiggly lines. And the reason why there's going to be some red squiggly lines is because you have not yet added the DLLs. That's something you're going to have to do manually, as I was alluding to before. So let's talk about a little bit about what that's going to entail. First things first, I would recommend just commenting out everything except for the line where we are using the MIME kit. Okay, the MIME kit is a DLL that we're going to need, and it has the majority of the DLLs we're going to need to support. So if you don't already have your assets, you're not going to have all these asset packages. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete them. And I'll delete it like this. And I'm going to show you kind of what it's going to be like when you first download the script. All right, this is apparently going to take a while to load. So let me pause and we'll start in a sec. Cool. Okay, so this is what you should see basically when you download the script. If you comment out everything except for this one line, it's going to say, hey, that MIME kit, I couldn't find it. What are you talking about, right? And that's when we're going to need to actually go to Nuget and add it in. So that's what this error message is going to look like. Let's pump that up for you just so you could see it. Is that easier for you to see? Can you see it at all now? Okay, maybe that didn't work. All right, forget it. If that didn't work, sorry. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to search for it, right? So that's going to be MIME kit, and then you'll type in Nuget. Nuget, like that. Okay, and it's here that you can find the Nuget listing for this MIME kit. We could go to versions. We're going to be using the latest version, 3.4.2. You're also going to want to check out dependencies. So all of these other packages are ones you're going to have to download. And when you download one of those packages, if you click into this one, we're going to need this package as well, which has its own dependencies, right? So we need to download security.cryptography, but you also need to download ASN, which formats.asn, because cryptography uses that DLL, right? So there's a bit of a tree structure going on here, okay? A bit of an inverted pyramid, if you will, of different kind of dependencies we're going to have to add. And so the basic way that you do this is you push download package, which is going to download a file in the format of .nupkg. All right, we could delete all this other stuff here, just so it doesn't confuse anyone. And that .nupkg is actually what we would use to import into Visual Studio. However, remember, we're not importing into Visual Studio. Instead, we are going to import it into Unity directly. So what you're going to want to do here is do a little tiny trick where you replace the you replace the extension with zip for zip file, which is, just another name for archive. And then we can extract it using 7-zip. If you have 7-zip, if you don't have 7-zip, get 7-zip. It's free, it's online, and it's the best extractor available. Or if you don't have it, you can push extract all. Okay, that's okay. It's not as fast, but it's okay. And we're going to zip through that. We're going to open it up. We're going to go into the lib section. And now it is the time for us to make an important decision. You need to download, you need the DLL for whatever C# net standard you're using. And the way that you could see that, right, because there's 4.7, there's 6.0, there's 2.0. Which one of these do I need? Well, go into your Unity project, pop open the project settings and then the player settings, and go down here to the API compatibility level. That's probably the .NET settings that you're going to be using there. So for me, it's 2.0. So when I get to that step of the program, I need to go into the 2.0 folder, and I need that DLL. And that's basically all that I need. So you copy that DLL, and you're going to paste this into your packages folder. So we're going to go here into project, assets, packages. We're going to create a new folder. Oh boy, here we go. New folder. Call that mime for now. Go on in there and paste it. Okay, maybe I can't paste it like this. So I'll go over here and I will paste it like that. Okay, there we go. So that's the paste. And I would also highly, highly, highly recommend that you specify the exact version. So for me, it's Mailkit 3.4.2 within the folder there. So I'm just going to rename it to 3.4.2. Let's delete that meta so it recalibrates. And now we will hit it with a Control-R to re-import our scripts. Really useful, though, to specify the exact version number. Because, hold on here. Let's pause for a second. Okay, sorry, that took a bit of time just because I had the Visual Studio project open. But after you do that, you should see an error message like this. And what this is saying is, hey, we found the Mailkit now, but we couldn't find any of its dependencies. So you also need system.memory, bouncycastle.crypto, system.security.cryptography, and system.buffers. Okay, and it's at that point you'd go back to the Nuget page and you'd click through some of these dependencies, right? And then I'd go to Bouncy Castle, and then I would download the Bouncy Castle package, and I just repeat the process again and again. Okay, so that is how you do it. You're gonna add all of those different packages until you fill up your packages folder with all of the necessary dependencies that you need in order to get Mailkit working. At that point, you can go into the code and you can uncomment all of the stuff that we commented together, and you can then integrate Mailkit. Mailkit uses Mailkit and one other DLL, and so once you've got that all together, you should be in a good position. I want to warn you, though, of a few things to look out for. The first is that, here, let me set this up for a moment. Let me just download something. Okay, folks, so I skipped ahead a little bit. What I've done now is I've added in all of the different packages you're going to need. And, you know, let me just do a quick snap of that so you can just see all of the different versions that I've used. The tricky thing here is that there might be a new version of Mailkit by the time you're watching this video. So you might need to sort of choose different versions based on whatever's the latest thing. But for me, these were the latest versions of the packages I needed to download from the Nuget website. And that is for Mailkit. Well, it looks like I misspelled Mailkit. But yeah, that's Mailkit version 3.4.2. Okay, why don't we go in there and let's just rename that really quick. Add in that L. Or the dub. Okay. So that is what you're going to need to do. Once you've added those all, you'll notice, though, when you start the project, you may still get these error messages. And so what this error message is saying, I'm just going to copy this into Sublime so you can see it a little bit larger, is it saying, hey, in the process of loading the cryptography package, I found that it references memory, system.memory, version 4.0.1.1. However, in your project, you had a different version number. You had version 4.0.1.2. So the version in your project was not the one that the cryptography DLL expected. Now this could be a problem because if the code is expecting a different version of another piece of code, it could be calling methods that don't exist, right? However, I've ultimately, and this is why it took 5 hours this morning, I've ultimately learned there's no way to reconcile these errors. Unfortunately, you can't get a perfect circular dependency. So let me just show you a quick example. Mailkit version 3.3.0 uses memory 4.5.4 and crypto 4.5.2. But crypto 4.5.2 references memory version 4.5.3. So what that means is that if you're going to use Mailkit, you need to use this version of crypto, which uses a different version of memory than Mailkit uses. So this 0.3 and this 0.4, no matter what, you're never going to find a balance where they're going to have a perfect overlap in the dependencies that they need. And so what you need to do in this case is you need to resolve it in such a way that your DLLs in your project are at the level that is needed by the other DLLs or greater. So in this example, I can ignore this error because the version I have is higher than the version it is expecting. Therefore, I know that none of the dependencies it has, I don't support, right? It's just an update that I have. Now, of course, there's nothing saying that the update couldn't have broken backwards compatibility, but unfortunately, this is just the situation we're in, where it's the best we can do, is do the next highest version. Because unfortunately, if I if I go down a version, then something else could be expecting something at a later version. And so it's always better that you have the version it requires or greater. Because yes, backwards compatibility might not be guaranteed, but what we certainly know is that it's not going to, I mean, if you have a version that's less than the version it needs, then I feel like that's even more dangerous. So what can you do for all these error messages when they pop up, even if you have confirmed that your version in the project is at least the version they were expecting or greater? Well, I think Unity more or less resigned to the fact that this really isn't an error. This really should be a warning. And so because of that, in the player settings, there is an option for you to disable these errors. Okay, let's see if we can find it. It's somewhere over here. Man, I just cannot see it right now. What is going on? It's oh, it's this one. It's assembly version validation, which is grayed out for some reason, probably because I'm in play mode. So let's turn that off. And yes, I think so. So assembly version validation, I gotta find it again. Here it is. You want to uncheck this box, okay? That is the only way for you to get rid of these errors. Unfortunately, this is not a good thing to do, right? We don't want to be disabling the version validation. But once you've gotten your error messages to the state that basically, you know that you have all the versions that are at the required level or higher, then I think it's safe for you to uncheck that box, because there's no other way for you to get rid of those errors, unfortunately. And at that point, you should be able to cleanly compile and run the game. Okay, so there's one other thing I wanted to warn you about, and it's that when that message comes up in the console, right? When they say, hey, you had let me see what that is. Let me see what the error message was over here. Okay, so when they say you had version 4.0.1.1, this is going to really piss you off. That version number is not actually the version number you downloaded from the Nuget website. So though it says, hey, you in your project have version 4.0.1.2, you could see the package that I downloaded was version 4.5.5 of memory. And so it is such that the version numbers do not exactly correlate. Version 5, and here I've got a little bit of a short list sheet here that I've been using to reference as I was working through it. Basically, the system.memory DLL, version 4.5.5 on the website, when you download it and the DLLs start referencing it, it is internally referred to as version 4.1.0.1.2. So obviously 4.0.1.2 is not at all version 4.5.5. So why is that the version that is listed on the Nuget website? I have no idea. It was so confusing, but I looked it up on Stack Overflow, and apparently this is a very common issue. Nobody else knows why it's that way either. So again, this Microsoft has, again, I can't legally say anything negative about Microsoft, but I can say this is a little bit silly, right? We went from Windows 98 to Windows 10, right? Or something like that, right? So Microsoft has never really gotten the whole naming thing right, but hey, yeah, it's something you've got to get, as it's a hurdle, right? You got to get over it. It's a pain in the ass for sure. And unfortunately, what's really annoying is that, as I said, 4.5.5 is really 4.0.1.2. The thing is, if I go on the Nuget website and I go to like system.memory and I go, oh my gosh, here we go. If I actually go here and I go to that version, I don't think there's a way for me to see that this the 4.5.5 is internally referenced with the 4.0.1.2. I don't think there's actually a way, if I click this, to find that. I don't think it is. I think it's just up to you. Once you run it, you'll realize, you know, what a shitstorm it is. But that's just another gotcha to be aware of. Hey, this takes a lot of work trying to resolve all the different packages and dependencies. And that's why it took me like 5 hours today. But I wanted to let you know that even though we don't have Visual Studio's Nuget Package Explorer, there are some people who are working on Unity plugins in order to facilitate this. So for example, there's this package called Unity Nuget, okay? And if you check this out, again, another random guy on GitHub, but this guy created a package manager for the Nuget system that integrates directly into Unity. So you could check out this guy's package. I had done so about a week ago when I was trying to get this figured out. And unfortunately, his code did not work for me. So I tried this third-party tool. It didn't work. I wasn't able to use it. I had to do it manually at the end of the day. But this project might be updated by the time you're watching this video, and it might be a much easier way to integrate and resolve all of the different DLL dependencies, and that way you don't have to do it by hand. Because I have to tell you, by hand, it takes a long time to download all this shit and figure it out. But hopefully, I gave you that screenshot of all of the dependencies that I used, and hopefully if you use those exact dependencies, then it should just work for you. And as always, as I mentioned before, I will include the code in the description for the email code that I showed you, and that should just about do it. Let me know in the comments section if this was able to work for you, and if not, if you're able to figure something out, definitely include that in the comments section to help other people. If I realize at a later date that something I've said in this video is wrong, I'm going to update the pinned comment or the description. So please just scroll down, check there, and make sure everything I've said is still up to date. If Gmail has canceled their services or Microsoft has done some other crazy thing, I will definitely let you know in the comments below. So that's just about it for this video. Good luck. I hope you're able to send some emails back and forth to your players, whatever you need to do, and I'll catch you in the next video. If you enjoyed this one, please hit that subscribe button or the like button. Both of those help out tremendously. I'll catch you later.